Hello, my name is Ashley Willard, and I'm a law student at Wake Forest School of Law. Today, I'll be reading to you a little bit out of Smart About the Presidents, written and illustrated by John Buller and Susan Shade, Marianne Coco Leffler, Dana Reagan, and Jill Weber. Our first president was George Washington. He was president from 1789 to 1797. Born in Virginia, George Washington was the most famous hero of the Revolutionary War. When the war was over, it was time for the new nation, now called the United States of America, to pick its first leader. Everyone wanted George Washington, but nobody knew what to call him. Finally, the decision was made to call our top leader President, and that's how it's been ever since. He loved animals, and his staff brushed his horse's teeth every day. George Washington wore false teeth that some books say were made of animal bone and tusk. The father of our country had no children of his own. He married Martha Custis and adopted her 2 children. Before he was president, he was a farmer and surveyor, someone who measures land. Did you know this? George Washington was the only president who never lived in the White House. It wasn't finished being built yet. This is George Washington. Our second president was John Adams. John Adams was president from 1797 to 1801. John Adams helped Thomas Jefferson write the Declaration of Independence. Our second president died 50 years after the birthday of the U.S. on July 4, 1826, the exact same day as Thomas Jefferson. John and his wife Abigail were the first residents of the White House. Abigail Adams hung laundry in the unfinished East Room of the White House. Before he was president, he was George Washington's vice president. He hated his job. Did you know this? His son, John Quincy Adams, became president. Our third president was Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was president from 1801 to 1809. Jefferson was probably the smartest president ever. He was interested in everything, like science and art and music and farming and language and law and government. When he was president, he bought over 600 million acres of land, called the Louisiana Purchase, from France. This made the United States twice as big as it was before, and all that land only cost 3 cents an acre. Before he was president, Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. Did you know this? Jefferson invented a folding ladder and collected prehistoric bones. Jefferson's home was called Monticello, and he designed it himself. Our fourth president was James Madison. He was president from 1809 to 1817. Before he became president, James Madison helped write the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The Constitution explains how our government works. The Bill of Rights says what we are free to do as citizens. Did you know he was the shortest president? Only 5 feet, 4 inches tall, and 100 pounds. His wife, Dolly, was one of the most popular first ladies ever. British soldiers set fire to the White House during the War of 1812, and Dolly managed to save the famous portrait of George Washington. Before he was president, James Madison was a lawyer, congressman, and Secretary of State. Did you know this? Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner in 1814. Our fifth president was James Monroe. He was president from 1817 to 1825. James Monroe left college at 17 to join General George Washington's army and fight the British. During the Revolutionary War, he was shot. The bullet stayed in his shoulder for the rest of his life. When he first became president, the White House was being rebuilt after the fire, so Monroe toured the country for 4 months. He was the first president to travel around greeting people. A smart and popular president, Monroe is best known for the Monroe Doctrine, which told European countries to keep their hands off the New World. Monroe's daughter Maria was the first child of a president to be married in the White House. He was the third president who died on the 4th of July. Before he was president, Monroe held more major offices than any other president. He was senator, governor, minister to Britain, France, and Spain, Secretary of State, and Secretary of War. Did you know this? Monroe was the first president to travel on a steamship. In 1819, the first American steamship crossed the Atlantic. It had sails. Our sixth president was John Quincy Adams. He was president from 1825 to 1829. He was the first president to have his picture taken. In the presidential election of 1824, none of the candidates won a majority of the electoral votes. The winner was decided by the House of Representatives, which chose Adams. Like his father, who was president before him, John Quincy Adams got on many people's nerves. He didn't like being president, and when he didn't win a second term, he ran for Congress and spent 17 years there. When he was president, John Quincy Adams would swim naked in the Potomac River most mornings. Before he was president, John Quincy Adams had many jobs in government. When he was 11, he was his father's secretary in France. Did you know this? He loved to garden. Our seventh president was Andrew Jackson. He was president from 1829 to 1837. Andrew Jackson became a soldier when he was only 13. Both his parents were dead by the time he was 14. He sure had to grow up fast. Before he became president, he fought in the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. Thanks to Andrew Jackson, the White House got bathrooms and running water. Here is a weird fact. He insisted the world was flat. Andrew Jackson was the first president born in a log cabin. Jackson's pet parrot had to be taken away at his funeral because it was swearing. Before he was president, Andrew Jackson was a lawyer, judge, military governor of Florida, U.S. senator, and congressman. Did you know this? In 1829, the typewriter was invented. In 1836, Davy Crockett fought the Mexicans at the Alamo, and Arkansas became the 25th state. Those were the first 7 presidents that we had in the United States. Thank you for listening.